Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Tyler Merkovich alongside Emery Hunt's Zardo Playbook, bringing you our 2010 season preview for the St. Louis Rams, coming off a 1-15 season. Steve Spagnuolo enters his second year. Of course, they drafted Sam Bradford, who looks like he'll get the reins from day one. But Steven Jackson, unbelievable year despite the anemic offense. 10.9 points per game for this offense, 20th best rush offense, which was their best stat, 29 total, 28 passing. So really no pass game. Steven Jackson really stepped up. Yeah,
they have a solid fullback in front of him in Mike Carney. He was a little bit injured last year, but Mike Carney is a beast at fullback. They really need a backup to Steven Jackson. I'm not sold on Kenneth Darby. That's why I like undrafted rookie free agent Keith Toston out of Oklahoma State, a guy that has some wiggle, that runs downhill, has some speed, taking the distance. And they, speaking about the quarterback situation, start Bradford from day one. If you're going to struggle as a team on offense, then struggle with the rookie, because he's going to be there longer and he has more potential than a guy like A.J. Philly. So I love Bradford's accuracy. Reminds me a lot of Troy Aikman.
Well, Jason Smith, last year's first-round pick for the St. Louis Rams, anchors a line at left tackle. Jacob Bell, up-and-coming star at left guard. Jason Brown, they picked up from Baltimore, will play at center. John Greco, Mark Setterstrom battle for the right guard spot. And at right tackle, they got a steal in Roger Saffold, which they moved up, and they drafted this guy out of Indiana. He's slated to start right away at right tackle, so maybe their offensive line can pave the way for more yards for Steven Jackson and give Bradford some time.
And a healthy interior offensive line will prove to be key for the Rams. Look at Mark Setterstrom, you also look at Jacob Bell, and that has to be the key right there. If they can get better interior, that's going to be fine. And they got good depth with Goldberg, Greco, and Ryan McKee. Those guys can really play football. The battles between Greco and Goldberg, I like Goldberg a lot out of Miami, but that's the big battle. Greco has to really step up his play. It hadn't been as what they drafted him out of Toledo. He has to really step up and play big. But the offensive line success is tied to the interior offensive line.
Well, remember this wide receiver unit with Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. They're way beyond those days. Laurent Robinson was their breakout star last year until he got injured. Brandon Gibson finished the season strong though. And of course, Donnie Avery, a lot of expectations coming in at Houston. He had a great rookie season, but last year he dipped off. He still has some upside. Keenan Burton out of Kentucky, also another wide receiver. Tight end, really no one of note. Darcy Johnson, Daniel Fells, who knows what they'll go there. Danny Amendola, a guy they picked up out of Texas Tech. He looks to be in the equation at wide receiver also, so a weak spot for the Rams.
Yeah, they need someone to step up and be the solid number 2 or number 1 guy. Getting Burton back is going to be huge. He was doing extremely well until he got injured. Avery is more of a slot guy, but he is explosive. He added some weight this year, so look for him to avoid getting those injuries that plagued him last season because he was a little bit light. So Gilliard is going to be explosive. I like Gilliard a lot, and they're really counting on Laurent Robinson. Gilliard is a guy that reminds me a lot of Bernard Berry, and he's going to be explosive after the catch and also helps out in the return game.
32.4 red zone TD percentage. That was 31st in the league, so they really need a target in the red zone. They need to convert touchdowns in the RZ. Defensive side of the ball, we know Spagnuolo is a defensive mind, but Ken Flagioli is their defensive coordinator. And defensive line, they pick up Fred Robbins from the Giants, of course. They have James Hall, a veteran, at one defensive end. Chris Long has been a disappointment at the other end after being a first-round draft pick. Clifton Ryan, defensive tackle. Darrell Scott from Clemson, second-year guy. They like to put him in the rotation. So what do you think about this unit?
Keep an eye on Darrell Scott. He's going to be outstanding this year for the Rams. I like him a lot. Also, I think Chris Long is going to have a breakout year. I think he's starting to come along as a defensive end, so I think he's going to have an outstanding year. They need help on the opposite end. That's why they drafted Hall Davis, another guy out of University of Louisiana Lafayette, home of the Raging Cajuns. Keep an eye on him to be a pass rusher. Also, George Selby, a guy that if he can revert back to his sophomore, junior year, he was lights out. He was pinned to be a first-round pick. So if he comes to play, that's a steal for the Rams. They may have the biggest steal defensively in the draft, and that was a good signing in bringing in Fred Robbins from the Giants. So the D-line, again, the defense for the Rams wasn't the problem. The D-line is going to look a lot better this year.
27th rush defense in the league. They need to stop the run. Against the pass wasn't too much better. Well, they pick up Niall Diggs. They pick up Bobby Carpenter. to help out James Laurinaitis, very athletic linebacker here. So those are big improvements for the Rams.
Yeah, Laurinaitis should have won Rookie of the Year, I believe. He played outstanding throughout the season. Now it's an all Buckeye linebacker. Now Diggs, Carpenter. I have a question. Can Carpenter, is a 4-3 better suited for Carpenter? Because they gave a lot of excuses for him not being able to play well in the 3-4. So let's see if Carpenter can adjust to the 4-3 if he's better suited for the 4-3. But he has all the physical skill, but can he step up and make those plays that they needed him to make in downs that he didn't? But I like the potential that they have. The strong side with Nile Diggs is going to be huge. That's where they lacked a lot of punch last year. That linebacker core is probably one of the best in the conference, up and coming.
Well, you know they're drafting Cameron Hayward and or Brian Roll next year to get
the full Buckeye defense.
Yeah, exactly. But secondary is led by free safety Atagwe. I'm not going to even attempt to say his first name, but James Butler, the other strong safety, former New York Giant. Craig Dull backs them up. Cornerback, they take a chance on Jerome Murphy out of South Florida. He wasn't too good last year at South Florida, but he might have some pro potential. And Ron Bartel at the other cornerback, Bradley Fletcher also, and Justin King, a man out of Penn State. So maybe their secondary come together. Only 8 interceptions last year. That was tied for 31st.
Getting Bradley Fletcher back is going to be huge. He went on IR last year. He was playing lights out before he got injured as a rookie. So I like Brandon Fletcher. Rob Bartel is a guy that's very, very solid. So you bring him in as well. Now you get Jerome Murphy, a guy that may start opposite of Fletcher, because Murphy is a physical guy. He can hit. He doesn't mind sticking his nose in there and getting dirty. He also has outstanding ball skills, and he's athletic. You can't go wrong with a South Florida defensive back, so that's something to watch. Re-signing the Tagway is huge, but also keep an eye on strong safety Kevin Payne. He may challenge James Butler. James Butler battled a lot of injuries last year, but Payne is a guy that can come in and lay the lumber down. Atagwe is a ball hawk. Don't even ask Atagwe to come make tackles. Just make him catch the interceptions and they'll be fine. But the secondary with the help this year, I think it's going to be a little bit better. But James Butler has to rebound this year.
Tom McMahon should be very impressed by Josh Brown as their place kicker. He's great. Donnie Jones, their punter. He's okay. Kick return. This is actually some bright spots they had last year. Their 8th in punt return, tied for 11th in kick return. Donnie Avery could do it. Marty Gilliard, of course, we didn't mention. He should be a key wide receiver for the Rams, but in the return game, he's usually special also. Danny Amendola also can compete for punt return.
Yeah, the punt return unit have to improve, but you have a lot of guys that can, vie for that. You mentioned Avery, you mentioned Gilliard. Those guys can also return punts. You mentioned Keith Tolson as well, to another guy that can get back there and return punts as well. But the coverage is awesome. But watch Gilliard make an amazing impact as a rookie. He made challenge for Rookie of the Year.
Well, the Rams can't get any worse. Obviously, I think they're going to improve from their one-game win performance last year. I think their defense, their linebackers is very. Their defense is going to be. They were good last year, their defense, but I think it should be better, and that'll help them win some games behind Steven Jackson and a decent offensive.
Well, the O-line and the rest of the passing game has to improve, because you could run the football in St. Louis, and the defense wasn't bad at all. Defense wasn't the reason why they lost. They couldn't score points when they needed to. So getting Bradford back there at quarterback, improving that passing game is going to help out. The Rams are going to be vastly improved. They're going to compete on defense. They didn't get blown out in a lot of games. They played a lot of teams close. They almost beat the Saints. It was with the Vikings until turnovers happened, kept fumbling the football, especially as it was moving the football. So the Rams are not that far off. They have to get more consistent play out the passing game.
Yeah, their offense was awful last year, dead last in almost every category. For more, visit footballgameplan.com/NFL. Check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan.